Frank. We'll find out in a moment if Frank can tie up that score 1-1.
Yeah, definitely a lot to prove for themselves here. They looked so solid yesterday across the board in their series. Oh, there's already some early game aggression.
Yeah, we see Shun getting chunked out, but with what time it is, he will be able to just recall. But first strike, a little bit of gold there onto Eminem. And I think recently, at least Wako looked really, really strong on this Lucian Nami. And what kind of happened was that they'd kind of lose a little bit out early game, sort of the levels 1 and 2, and then just turn it on completely and punish Zeri completely, like zoning away from lots of minions and really taking over the bot side of the game. And I think that is something we need to look towards. I'm kind of intrigued that he took cleanse. Obviously, there is the Kennen, but that's really the only CC that is likely to be onto him. But
yeah,
obviously, he does opt for it.
Definitely useful sometimes into the Lulu polymorph as well, but I feel like a lot of the time you don't really want to be in range for that, especially in team fights where Lulu's likely going to be sitting a bit further back than the rest of the team. Not sure how much value he's going to find with that, and I think especially lacking the ignite in this sort of matchup is going to hamper your kill pressure as well.
It is a trade-off, but I almost feel like playing into Kennen without cleanse is just so difficult, right? Like you have to play so much safer, and there is the other CC of obviously the LeBlanc chain, the Viego W, so I think it could almost be an aggressive option in a way of it allows him to dash forward without needing for those cooldowns to be down.
Yeah, I feel like I could say the same thing about Exhaust though. I feel like having Exhaust into Kennen is just so valuable time and time again. I think there was some Worlds game or some MSI game at some point where we saw 2 people in the game take Exhaust into a Kennen, and that really just shuts them down completely.
Yeah, I could definitely back that. As it looks like lane so far pretty even across the board. I think if there is early game pressure, it's most likely going to be around mid and bot, mainly because bot, obviously is somewhat volatile, and mids are the ones that have that gang set up. Top lane, you kind of expect will just be farming, or at least, pure 1v1, if there is any sort of aggression.
Yeah, range versus range top lane can, sometimes be very explosive, but a lot of the time it does just come down to both of them farming until one of their junglers shows up. Overall, though, still very much even across the board. I'm most interested in seeing how this bot lane matchup is going to go. We have seen it time and time again, but it often varies in terms of who's getting the better of these small trades, and often those incremental advantages can make the difference.
Speaking of incremental advantages, Jimmy gets himself some pretty solid trades in the mid lane, has the Corrupting Pot as well for that extra sustain, and it looks like CFO, maybe that bot lane will go for the reset. Slaytrue's going to try and maintain presence while Shun manages to get that off. Does he have enough? He goes for a second D-Blade. Oh no, changes it to the Carl.
Yeah, I think double Durans would be a bit of a blast from the past, and definitely not. I don't think I've seen that ever. It's just not good anymore, right?
Doesn't feel like it.
Definitely not the vibes. Yeah, I'm glad he picked up that Cull instead, and I think that's a good, solid recall for him. It's a bit of a small advantage once again, but having that in your back pocket and helping provide extra gold as you near the mid game, definitely going to be a solid pickup, and not missing too much CS for it as well.
So we haven't talked about it yet, but Kennen has gone for the Aerie, so likely to be AP this game instead of that tank rune in the grass. So we'll have to see what he's like on that. Obviously, he is just a strong player, so you imagine he'll be really, really good both on the AP and the tank, Kennen. As we do see, honestly, Jimmy gets so much control over this mid wave. Pretender really cannot walk down there, or he most likely will die to this LeBlanc, and early pressure definitely favouring CFO.
Yeah, I think there's even potential for some sort of solo kill here, maybe. Gemini's in the area as well if they do want to play for a dive after. Has to be careful. I think Pretender, as long as he holds the stun, should be fine, but if he has to use it to CS, could be very vulnerable. Or chain connects.
Oh yeah, find so much damage.
Flashes away there at the end, so does manage to survive, and that's really important. He does have teleport available for him, so he will be able to get back and most likely catch all this wave. But again, it's just so much pressure now in favor of CFO. This mid lane is likely going to stay in LeBlanc's favor for a little bit of time here, and with Dragon spawning, and we know how these two teams like to play, it will likely be favored towards CFO for picking this up.
Yeah, no flash on Pretender. It does make this lane significantly harder. I think as soon as he gets, as soon as Gemini rather lands those chains later on with Gemini in the area, it can pretty much dispel certain death. And I think that CFO in this early game have done a really good job of just building their own leads. Even with Gemini having a pretty decently sized CS lead of his own, as well as starting up the Mountain Drake now as well. pretty good looks.
Yeah, just kind of randomly have themselves around a 700 gold lead out of pretty much thin air. I guess a lot of it is in that bot CS, which might be picked up soon. There's the Dirk here for Eminem, so we'll have to see if he can start pressuring back soon. But, I mean, the first Dragon going over to the comp was Zeri Lulu. Always does feel pretty good.
Yeah, no contest at all from the side of Frank. They just don't have the position for it. And I think that in these early game skirmishes, sure, you have the Lucian Nami, but I think this LeBlanc-Viego combo is just so scary to deal with.
It is, and I think, like you said before, Pretender using the flash now has to be so careful around mid. LeBlanc plus pretty much any ganking jungler is about the scariest thing you could possibly verse. Solico gets taken very, very low, and this is by a cult cannon as well.
He's got a sliver of HP left now. Does have the Dawn Shield to try and heal himself back up. But Gemini's passing towards the general vicinity.
Nice trades here coming out of bot, and looks like with this Dirk picked up, Eminem is able to find himself a little bit better favored trades for himself as that CS gap is evened up again, and gold lead still definitely in favor of CFO, however, and it kind of is, I think, just off that top lane, really. The Kennen has got himself almost a 20 CS lead, as well as a little bit of extra gold out of the cull. And it does look really good, really, around the map for the entirety of CFO.
Yeah, especially since I'd say they have the better scaling comp as well. It's a great start for them so far, especially not giving too much over to this Lucian Nami bot lane and keeping the CS relatively. Yo, as I say that, takes so much damage there from Eminem.
Yeah, at least a little bit traded back by Slay True there. No junglers around, although Hollow maybe could look for something. I believe is spotted out there on the ward. I think he's going to try wrap around and CFO. They might have to leave.
Yeah, we've seen a similar situation before in the last game, but this time it's tables have turned. Hollow is in the area. I don't think he's going to pressure too much, and he really loves that blue buff.
Yeah, can always go after it, especially if Gemini is about to show mid. Looks like he will cross, and I think, actually goes back towards the Herald. Pretender does have to be careful. Looks like he got a good trade. Doesn't have the bear, though.
And misses that cannon thanks to the pressure of Gemini. If we're continuing to, mount up that pressure. Hollow's still in the area of bot lane, though.
Yeah, he's been here a while, but doesn't look like he's going to be able to find anything. There's still low health bars around here. I wouldn't be surprised to see at least one of the junglers come down and help this wave get pushed out, or maybe CFO will just commit to that reset, but you wouldn't want to give up the play as well as all the CS.
Yeah, Frank, they do have the superior sustain, so health bars looking a lot in better shape, but they are pretty low on mana now, so going to be taking a base for now. Gemini hopping over, might be able to find something. Timing's just off.
And they lost the plate, importantly. The minions were able to take that and no one was there to claim the gold. So that's really just 175 gold missed for Eminem. So definitely don't like that, but perhaps thinking with Gemini in the area, it's just better to back and not risk dying.
And it looks like Frank will be the ones to start up the Herald here, mainly off the back of Jimmy being pretty low health in that mid lane. And I don't think there's any way CFO can get here in time. So Frank, despite maybe not having the best start in either their mid or top, managed to find the window. Are they going to be able to finish it up?
Ooh, yeah, Hollow does have the smite ready, so I think he is going to be able to secure that. Gemini hops over the wall, but now it's kind of trapped Frank, though. They don't want any part of that. CFO rotating Shun as well through the area, but it's just a little bit too late. And pretty good pickup there from Frank to try and stabilize the game.
Yeah, I think picking up the Herald is especially good when you have the Lucian Nami. Can look to kind of play through that, get them a bit more gold, especially because they have taken a play already. I think committing Annie to the Herald does come at a cost, right? Had to give up some of that CS in mid. And curious as well that Pretender is going towards that Rod of Ages because he bought so many components before going to it that it's going to be very, very late. And in general, we've seen so many games kind of play out too aggressively before the Rod of Ages even comes in, but obviously it is just kind of feels necessary versus LeBlanc, right? If you don't have that tanky stats, it can feel very, very vulnerable.
Yeah, trading in pretty heavily there, from both mid laners there. It's going to end up relatively even, but CFO still slightly ahead in gold overall.
Now, I'm interested to see with this now Noon Quiver picked up, are they going to be able to sort of pressure and get more plates? Obviously missed the first one, but it ultimately did go down. And with Hollow in the area, you have to think that Rift Herald will likely be placed there. And we saw it on PSG at least, when this Lucian Nami is ahead, they can really take over a game. And while they do get outscaled, I think sort of when it is Lucian Nami, you do really excel in the middle stages of the game when you do pick up that both Gale Force as well as Rapid Fire Cannon. So I do expect sort of the Herald to be placed down here in the not too distant future, especially now with 30 seconds left on this Dragon Spawn.
Yeah, I think Eminem is, sort of gradually starting to build up his own lead. The CS is slightly in his favor now as well. Uses the culling to get a little bit of extra damage down. I think that the CFO bot lane can find themselves in a pretty decent amount of danger if Pretender's ever able to find a window to rotate down. He does have the flash available now as well, but Jimmy is doing a good job of holding him at bay.
He is, and this Herald will crash, but the gold is shared between 3 members here on the side of Frank. But that does ultimately even up the gold. And can they look towards the Dragon after? Because they are quite strong here in this bot lane. Definitely have the health advantage. Looks like Eminem will grab another play, and they're going to go onto it. But yeah, I think it should go to them. Jimmy, once again, is pretty low. Has the TP soon. And they currently do have the better control. Maybe they look for something mid instead, though, CFO?
Yeah, Jimmy is looking pretty low, so I think it's a bit rough for them to try and find an opportunity here. Good timing there from Frank. Gemini is sort of waiting in the area. Oh, Gemini's actually TPing in. They might look to try and contest this.
Yeah, okay, so he has a chapter, and he hasn't been able to recall yet. I think this should be good for CFO.
Oh, Gemini choosing not to go for the stun.
No culling as well.
Nature's Grasp is going to come out as Pretender. Flash stun will land there onto Hollow, but looks like a disengage coming out. It is going to be Dragon picked up by Frank as Jimmy actually flashes in. He's getting quite low, but Root will land onto Hollow as the ult from Zeri lands, but everyone is now out of range, and it looks like the team fight ends, and it is just the Dragon picked up from Frank.
Did get some flashes as well, though. Hollow traded flashes with Jimmy, and Pretender obviously uses his forward. But I think overall is better for Frank to get that Dragon. I think that's very important if you are playing a comp with the Lucian Nami. You are, I think, eventually outscaled, and if you have that Dragon condition to kind of fall back on, it does feel very good.
Yeah, overall evening up the game to pretty much dead even. Solo kill going aggressive.
Oh, Solo kill will not land the stun because of rest flash, but ultimately that is flash for pretty much free. The Nara ultimate, not much of a cooldown, and it looks like the top lane's kind of turning around.
Yeah, Solo kill's a bit upset after last game. It feels like Rest definitely got the better of him in that Jace versus Gwen matchup, and now this is his chance to really turn the tables.
Could be, as honestly, all things considered, pretty even here, and definitely a little bit different from that previous game. They kind of, got away from Frank very, very early. Rest is, had a very great start to this lane, but now with that flash burned is potentially vulnerable to Hollow just coming up here. Gemini's here first, actually both junglers. It could be a 2v2.
Well, Rest has their ult available.
Yeah, it does look like he will just be running away for now, and important for Hollow to be here to ensure that Solo kill can safely push this in, as Hollow's looking for a little bit more, but nothing to come just yet.
And around mid lane, I mean, we kind of talked about it before, but Pretender, despite losing the flash, didn't get punished for it, and actually he's been getting the better of Jimmy and in those health trades, which has kind of led to having first move on that first Herald as well as the second Dragon that was fought there. And the Rod of Ages now being picked up makes it a lot harder for Jimmy to really get stuff done, and has himself a Ruby. I wonder if he's going for Everfrost LeBlanc.
Well, it would be interesting to see that. I feel like you don't really see that much. It's just the Ludens, but I guess with the AP threat in Cannon, you don't necessarily need to offer as much damage.
Maybe that's the reasoning. I'm honestly not too sure. I feel like even Leandry's could be better this game, right? There are a lot of health stackers on that top side, but I think I'd still be going for the Ludens. We'll have to see what he can get done with the Everfrost, though.
Gale Force is picked up now by Eminem, so even more power to this Lucian at the moment, and you have to feel like with that, it will be almost certainly priority around the Dragon. Rift Herald is spawning, however, in 39 seconds, and with where Hollow is, as well as Gemini sort of pathing towards that top side, it may just be Frank giving it over, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, Hollow once again investing a lot of time into the bot side, trying to make sure that this Lucian Nami can be as aggressive as they can, and this tower is looking pretty low now, especially with the tower plates down. Shun going aggressive there.
Yeah, Zeri does use his ult and clear out the wave, but that is an important cooldown down. Importantly, though, it is now just 10 seconds on this Herald, and with that, it's not likely that you're going to be able to trade, but we see an engage here. The flash snare will land. Pretender getting really, really low. Does snare up the Gemini for now, but will actually use his stopwatch to get out of the Heartbreaker, but ultimately will be going down. It is Nature's Grasp coming through too. Does stun up both of them, but will not be able to allow Pretender to survive.
Yeah, huge first blood coming out there for CFO, finally able to get a kill on the board. It's going to be traded out for that first turret though on the bot lane, so once again, gold is pretty much evened up.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately for Pretender, didn't have the flash, used it in that previous fight, and does just fall victim to Gemini there. That was even with the chain missing out of Jimmy, but unfortunately, there's just too much damage, too much CC, and as a result, the second Herald does go the way of CFO, and maybe they can use this to kind of, you know, put some gold onto Shun. I think despite the fact that Eminem has found an entire bot tower, Frank are actually still behind, and Pretender, unfortunately, just a bit too far up in the lane with no flash, no vision. Was kind of asking for it, to be honest.
Yeah, so much damage coming out from CFO. It's kind of like a slow bleed. He does pop the stopwatch to try and avoid that Heartbreaker damage, but without any further escape tools, it does mean that the kill is still ultimately going to go over to Gemini.
Yeah, and it was the first blood, so 15 minutes into the game, we are finding our first blood, and it did go over to Gemini again. As we see a fight break out, Hollow will just smash him away and then walk on out.
Yeah, a bit of a classic jungle handshake there, but Gemini, with the Divine Sunder completed now, does feel pretty significantly powerful, especially with this Chemtech Drake spawning in 25 seconds. CFO in a pretty good spot. I do feel like still overall the team fight is pretty even.
Yeah, definitely, and Eminem has a lot of power as well, so I guess it will come down to a lot of execution, as we do see pretty much sums up around the board. It is actually only Solo Kill that's lost his, and I don't think we saw actually how that happened, but ultimately Gemini and Solo Kill do not have flash available, and it might just turn out to be a 4v4 though, honestly.
Well, Rest is walking down here already. Even without the TP, he's committing to it. And I wonder if now Frank probably just need to give this up and let Solo Kill take that top tower. Would put them at a nice gold advantage. They don't see Rest yet, but I think they probably already know, given the way they're kind of positioning around this, and Solo Kill is still just pushing down top.
Yeah, it would be a big mistake for Frank to try and look to contest this without, you know, without your Gnar in the side lane, without TP available. There's really no way he can even stand a chance in this 4v5 situation. They're looking like they're just going to try and posture around mid and hopefully get some more damage in on that top, on that mid lane tower rather. Top lane tower does go down.
Yeah, I really like this from Frank. I think the second drag, not the end of the world, and the fact that you get more CS as a result out of this, and even that top tower is good for you if you can manage to snowball with it, right? Obviously the dragon is that better scaling, but if you don't let CFO get there, then it should be fine.
Yeah, CFO though, I feel like Frank Esports are kind of on a timer. This area is going to gradually get more and more powerful. Although in saying that Eminem hasn't truly reached his spike yet, he hasn't completed the second item, but with that Gale Force completed and the Imperial Mandate from Kaiwing, this Lucian army is going to be starting to pack a punch. I think CFO, they need to try and get to the next 5 minutes with minimal casualties.
Ooh, mid tower is maybe being sieged here, but Shuni dodges out the bubble. Gemini comes around, but it is really just to show presence, and I think, you know, we've memed on the Viego quite a lot, but is 1-0-0, has himself a sizable amount of CS. If you still can't find impact, then the champ truly does just suck.
Yeah, Gemini, hopefully he can, you know, continue to find kills and really get on the board for CFO overall. I think that they really just are happy to stabilize this game and continue to scale, whereas on the side of Frank Esports, they need to try and, you know, find some kills. They haven't actually managed to get on the board yet, and this Lucian Nami hasn't found value.
It hasn't, and I think, you know, the fact that they managed to pick up that ball tower but are still overall behind in gold, or about even now, is sort of like speaks for the game, right? Just the fact that if you're looking, you know, the mid and the jungle, those CS leads for the side of CFO are kind of keeping that even, and you have to feel like the slow game does favor the side of CFO.
Yeah, Eminem has actually managed to accrue a slight CS lead for himself, but I think with Shun having completed the cult, it's pretty much about even in terms of 80 carry gold. We have seen this Lucian, you know, start to pop off after he picks up that first kill, though, so definitely going to be the next sort of point of concern for Frank, whether or not they're able to find that crucial pick and crucial gold injection for Eminem to really get going. I think is going to end up determining how the mid-game turns out.
Yeah, and I want to say Rapid Fire Cannon now is picked up by the Lucian, so a lot more power and priority over these mid waves is what you expect to now see from the side of Frank. Herald now being used bot will secure this tower. Doesn't look like they're going to commit too much more to it, although we do see Shun kind of walking down this river.
They do just blast Cone out of there, at least for now. Can they keep going with this, Herald? Actually, my Pretender is walking up pretty far on this wave.
Pretender could he get caught out again. He is going to have to flash away. It is going to be followed up by the stun, and Heartbreaker will inevitably take him down. That is another kill over now to Jimmian, as the answer for Frank looks like they're trying to get down this mid tower. They will, so it's not the worst trade of all, but Pretender getting caught out of position twice now.
Yeah, unfortunately was, and there's going to be a Nature's Grass coming out. Can they get anything more? They do get Shun's cleanse, but that is the bot tower that actually goes down because the Herald managed to get it, and now an even bigger lead for Jimmy. And I think as well, pretty greedy from Pretender to not have any Merc Treads up against both the LeBlanc and the Cannon. Feels like unless you can position just completely out of their range, is so hard. And he's not the longest range mid laner. Does get punished pretty hard. Now down 40 CS.
Yeah, it looked like he was having a decent time early on in the Annie versus LeBlanc matchup, but definitely starting to struggle as we enter the mid game here. Getting caught in that side lane is never really a good look, but props to CFO, definitely Gemini and Jimmy, and being able to find that pick and continue to find value with the Viego and LeBlanc. A big win for them.
Yeah, so Shock, what do you think of the Void Staff second here out of the LeBlanc?
I think it's good, actually, because there's going to be a lot of MR kind of being built, right? Like Zeri Lulu has some AP damage to it. Obviously, the Cannon is a big provider of that as well. So getting it preemptively, I think, is probably better than buying it too late in the game. And I think as well, it is a cheap spike compared to some of the other items that you might pick up. Is only 2,800, and if you can get that before what is a very important third dragon here for CFO, it could make the difference, right? Just being able to pick it up a couple minutes earlier. Eyes on Shun, can he get that second item? I don't believe he will, just based on, I think, grab himself the BF sword.
Yeah, I think importantly, we do see solo kill now with the Hullbreaker, so he is going bot side, will be able to join for this dragon, but particularly solo kill on this now with the Hullbreaker. We've seen some crazy things out of him, and honestly, with the lead that CFO is starting to form, you're going to have to look for something really, really good again.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I would have thought that solo kill would prefer to group up with this team, considering they have a lot of good AoE setup, especially with the Maokai and with Pretender on the Annie, but him buying that Hullbreaker kind of suggests that he wants to stick it out in the side lane. Maybe trying to keep Rest firmly embedded in the side as well to prevent it from having that teamfight impact that Cannon wants to have. We'll have to see if he's able to be successful in that though.
I think if you can make it a 4v4, and especially because you'll be the strongest side laner with the Hullbreaker, it probably is better overall for your team. Now, Frank are the ones starting this up. It looks like CFO are kind of just playing to give. They're hitting that top tower instead. Maybe just want to try farm 2 items on the Zeri before they go for anything big. And honestly, I think it's probably the smarter choice. Obviously, stacking the dragons up would be nice, but just being able to accelerate yourself, make sure you get those crucial 2 items is, I think, probably the safer play.
Yeah, Frank Esports do pick up their own second dragon, but CFO with a slight gold lead at 22 minutes into the game. I think Frank are going to try and knock on the doors of this tier 2 mid turret. Hope to see if CFO can try and defend it.
Looks like it will just go down. Didn't even have to invest in Nature's Grasp, and Jimmy will trade a tier 1 back top, but so far it's looking good for Frank, and the bot tower might come under fire here as well. They're investing a lot of people into this.
And Nature's Grass as well as Tidal Wave is not going to land onto anyone as of yet. Solokill does try to go in, won't find anything. It is the Tibbers though, it will land onto Rest. He's getting so low. Slicing Maelstrom used to disengage, as well as Shun using his ultimate too. Eminem trying to find what he can, but he goes too far forward. Jimmy picks up that. It is going to be returned though. Solokill finds one. He is quite strong now on the Gnar, but it looks like the team fight will end. But ultimately, I think this favors the side of Frank.
I think it does. Yeah, it was very close, and I really hope we get a replay of that because I think Slaytrue saved Rest's life with the wild growth to cancel Solokill's jump forward on the Gnar, which was so crucial because it looked like Rest was just going to immediately die there, but did manage to actually disengage. We will get a replay of it.
Yeah,
Take us through it, Amelg.
Frank actually investing 5 minutes into the bot lane, really wanted to get this tier 2 bot tower as well. You can see the Tidal Wave and Nature's Grass come out so early and force CFO kind of against the wall. And Solokill chooses to hold his Gnar for now, which I think is wise, but not being able to get it off, interrupted by the wild growth, like you said. Not having that before you turn back into small Gnar, really just not going to work out well. And Eminem going way too aggressive, tries to find the kill into Shun, but not quite able to finish him off. It's going to be a 1-for-1 in the end, but Frank able to pick up that turret. It's hard to say who that favors, honestly.
Yeah, I think it maybe depends like who you value the gold on a bit higher because Jimmy got another kill and Eminem obviously doesn't grab anything. So the Lucian Nami kind of feels like it's not out of relevancy like me for sure, but it's getting more towards that, right? Feels like the Zeri does scale a lot harder and has the BT as well now. It's going to be very strong. Jimin already working on his Rabadons. The good look.
Yeah, so we see them sort of positioning around this Baron now. It is going to be solo kill on that bot side with this Hullbreaker. And what we saw sort of before that fight broke out between the 1v1, it looks like pretty much solo kill just takes no damage anymore from this Kennen. And I mean, with the fleet footwork, any damage he does take, he kind of just heals it back. And now I guess it's going to be up to sort of CFO to try and do something to be able to relieve some pressure out of this bot lane.
Yeah, solo kill definitely reaping the fruits of his itemization in this game. Are really able to get the better of Rest, and Rest hasn't been able to find any sort of progress in this Kennen pick at all so far. He hasn't been able to find any big ults, which is, again, what you want with the Kennen. Does have the Void stuff completed for himself as well. But
Jimmy
really
is going to look for a chunk. He does chunk Eminem quite low. It is healed now from Eminem. Well, sorry, just healed up there from auto attacks, but...
Yeah, Eminem, it feels like he's really struggling here. CFO are really getting the better of him and being the aggressors while he's trying to farm up in the mid lane. It really just goes to show how far behind Solution has kind of fallen in the state of the game. The lead still even across both teams, but CFO right now feels like they have the upper hand, at least in this mid lane. I think that the side lane is really going to be where Frank are going to try and find their leads.
Yeah, do just want to keep pushing down in that Lara lane, and I think the Nara's even building a wit's end, it looks like, right? So going to be even stronger in that side lane matchup. Rest is difficult to dive, but doesn't stop him from getting just chipped away at slowly. I wonder when Jimin has TP, if he will just end up swapping, because obviously the Nara is a bit too tanky, but not much that he can actually do into LeBlanc. Could even just put two people in the lane and try to shove it out. It doesn't feel like Pretender can really get a whole lot done on the other side of the map. So I think there are ways to deal with the Kennen.
Yeah, overall, I think Frank, it seems like the game plan is just to try and avoid 5v5s at all costs, and they have been doing a good job of it so far. I think that excluding that bot lane skirmish where they were able to sort of find the upper hand and pick a 5v5 that favored them, sticking to the game plan, definitely a good sign. But the game is still in a relatively stable state. Only 4 kills so far in this game overall is kind of a shock. I feel like a lot of the PCS games we've seen so far in the playoffs have kind of been bloodbaths, especially in these best of 5s.
Yeah, almost exactly even on gold as well. So it definitely is surprising. I think between these two particularly, it's surprising to see such a mellow game, but ultimately, Frank, I think, are doing pretty well for themselves. They do kind of fall off in the later stages of the game, but that isn't really the same for solo kill specifically. He should always pretty much have priority in the side, and as you kind of touched on earlier, Shock, he won't likely be able to be killed by LeBlanc in a side lane, and it looks like against the Kennen, he has the kill pressure himself, so we'll have to see sort of how CFO opts to deal with that in particular, but in terms of the 4v4, they do look pretty good, particularly if Jimmy can land some poke prior to any of these objectives coming up, as we do see Dragon now, half health, and it looks like Frank will pick up their 3rd Dragon.
CFO, though, going towards the Baron. If they try and force this could be our first big 5v5 of the game. Gemini loses so much health, though, and that should force CFO away.
Yeah, Eminem proving that he's not yet fallen out of relevancy, dishing out so much damage onto Gemini and forcing the base out from him means that CFO won't be able to look towards the Baron, but I feel like that probably wasn't going to be a good call anyway. It feels like it was a call that would have been good if it was made maybe like 10-15 seconds earlier, but I think making that in response after Frank have already taken the 3rd Drake isn't really going to work out well for them.
Probably not, as resets will just come through, and there's a lot of big items that will probably be about to pick up. The Wit's End completed now on solo kill. Should be the Rabadons, I think, grabbed by Jimian. Yep, is now picked up as well. TP comes through from Jimian, so they're going to try regain... Oh, actually, it was Jimian who used the TP. Is going to now have complete control. They actually start up the Baron. They have so much lifesteal, and they can tank this forever.
Yeah, they're really trying to put a timer on solo kill. They know that they can't last in the side lane forever, and really just trying to force Frank into a 5v5 situation. Jimian
looking for Eminem. He does get extremely low. Cleanse kind of used for nothing there as Baron now down to half health. What can Frank do? Solo kill isn't committing teleport as of yet, and it looks like he won't. We do see a fight start off. Hollow in the middle there. It looks like Gemini will be going down. There is no Spite available for this Baron anymore. It's Twisted Advance. Will land onto Shun. He's in the middle of 3 at the moment, but we do see solo kill coming. He picks up 1. Jimian getting so low. Pretender is found by him, however, as we now see these two chained up. They are going to get CC'd and go down.
Solo kill, triple kill for him, TPing in the nick of time and really cleaning things up for Frank. Only 1 casualty for them, whereas CFO, they've got 4 members down for the count.
Yeah, and I think with that, Frank should be able to just grab this Baron. I honestly think pretty questionably played from the side of CFO. Felt like they could have made that work. Hopefully we'll get a replay. I think Slaytrue flashing just away from the pit felt very weird. Jimmy as well missed some of that engage. And we see here kind of on the side, Jimmy, he forces Eminem's cleanse, but I really question why Slater, he should have probably gone further back into the pit, instead finds himself just flashing out completely to the side. Rest as well, doesn't really get onto any relevant targets, it's just a Zonya from Pretender, and you know, Eminem left completely fine off the side, and while Shun did deal almost 6,000 damage, I think, in this team fight, unfortunately, it's Solo Kill who is still full HP, you know, this late into the team fight. No damage really left for him. So honestly, just better play from the side of Frank.
Yeah, it looked really rough, especially for Eminem and Kai being, you know, kind of getting taken down to very low HP by the advances of Shun. But, you know, CFO just, yeah, they're not able to find enough.
93 damage from the Viego. You hate to see it.
Another great performance out of that champ.
Oh,
but I think what we should note as well is before Solo Kill actually teleported in, he did take that bottom inhib tower as well. So he just went in all around the map on this Nara. And honestly, it looks a lot better than what Rest was doing as Nara against the Kennen in his prior series. So really liking this look out of Solo Kill. Is Eminem looking for Gemini here. Gemini getting so low. We'll have to commit the ult. But Eminem on the chase. Gemini lives with 1 HP.
Yeah, it's very, very low now. And top tower has fallen as well. Only 1 tower left before these inhibs start being looked at. And CFO, they don't have the best wave there, right? The LeBlanc does pretty much nothing into the Baron buff. I wonder, can they go for any more inhibs here? CFO, they're trying to force them away, but Frank, okay, they've got the top inhib. It feels like they could maybe go for all 3 if they play this slow enough. Still a full minute on the Baron.
Solo Kill has Mega. Oh, we do see them engage here. Solo Kill looking. Will he find a nice Nara? It does look like he's only going to find 2, but it is onto Shun. Shun getting so low, but Rest here finding a nice slicing Maelstrom. Ultimately, it is not enough at the moment. It is a double kill picked up for Solo Kill as he will chase down Gemini. He is going to try and get it. It does look like he will as Jimmy tries to find something back. It is a triple kill for Solo Kill, and it looks like it might just be the end of the game. Quadra is found. Rest on the other side of the map. It won't be the Penta, but it will be the game for Frank.
Wow, I mean, it does just feel like CFO have kind of run out of options at this point, don't have the damage really to do anything, and I think, like you said, the Kennen has kind of felt useless, right? Solo Kill's really gotten the better of him, especially with the amount of magic resist he now has. It was Jimmy who got very fed, but couldn't really do anything. I don't know how much, I think Knight, almost 200 MR and then was 8-0-0, I think it was.
Yeah, really rough overall for CFO. Game 2 going over to Frank Esports, and it's a good turnaround from them for sure.
Yeah, they do now tie up the series 1-1. Like we said, it probably wasn't going to be so one-sided after the first game. They do get back on that blue side, and I wonder if this is going to be one of those series where it is just blue side traded back and forth, and blue side ends up being the one that picks up all the wins. When that kind of does become the case, it really becomes, you have to try find a way to win on that red side. You know, maybe even throw in some sort of curveball to the draft, because it, you know, so far it looks like blue side is just much stronger.
Yeah, we did see actually Frank earlier throwing a curveball in one of their red side drafts with that Cassiopeia Callista, but ultimately that's a thing of the past. And here we do see them obviously pick